When I'm in Hamburg and I'm walking around, especially if I'm near the harbor, I always look for a fish stand where I can get a Fischbrötchen. And the Fischbrötchen is a roll with a fish cake in it. And it's a very special and delicious recipe that we do in Hamburg. I show you today how I make it. And just so you know what I'm going for, this is a picture of a Fischbrötchen that I made when I visited Hamburg last summer. The rolls for this menu are currently in the oven. So here's what you need for the fish cake or fish burger. I don't know how you want to call it. We call it Fischfrikadelle in Germany. So first of all, you need some fish. You need some pollock or some cod. And the quantities for this recipe you will find in the blog post right here. And you can switch below the ingredient list from metric system to US customary system. You will also need eggs, some Italian parsley. You need a small onion, a garlic clove, a small potato, the juice of half a lemon. Then you need salt and pepper, butter for frying, and you will need some breadcrumbs. And you need breadcrumbs from the panko kind, and you will need regular breadcrumbs, plain as you know them here in America. Okay, so what you also need is the rolls, which I'm baking currently. And last night, I prepared a Hamburger tartar sauce, Hamburger Remoulade. The recipe for that is here. And of course, there's also a blog post for how to make the Kaiser rolls that I'm currently baking, also here on the blog. Let me first prepare my ingredients. So I'm peeling the potato. And you will need a food grinder or a food processor if you want to make this. And I won't need the entire onion. I just had this in the fridge from yesterday, so I'll just take a part of it. Now I set this aside. And I'm now cutting the fish, so it is still slightly frozen. That makes it a little easier to bring it through the grinder. So I got the fish out of the freezer last night before I went to bed, and I put them frozen into the fridge. And now this morning I had them just where I want this to be, as I said, slightly frozen. It makes it also easier to cut it because it's not too soft. Okay, that will do. Okay, so now I'm adding the onions and the garlic. I'm adding the lemon juice. Plenty of salt. Lots of pepper. and the parsley. And it's simply easier to mix this before I put it through the grinder, so it will be more even than if I do it afterwards and the mass is already kind of sticky and difficult to handle. All right. And as of the grinder, I choose the smallest plate for this. And it's getting a little bit loud now. Now there's always the problem that in the end there's some fish still in the machine, in the grinder, and you want to get it out. So here's a little trick that I came across. This is where I need the raw potato. I put this in last, and with this will move out all the remaining fish or other stuff that I have in here. And I think that's a very practical thing. Okay, let's take a look at this. So this is the mass that came out here. And to this I'm adding now the eggs. And I'll start with 2 eggs. Not sure if I need the third one. And you see this is quite liquid now, so this would be impossible to shape into some sort of fish cake. So I'm adding now the panko, or panko, how do you pronounce it, breadcrumbs. If you don't have them, if you don't get them, don't worry too much about it. You can just use regular breadcrumbs, that works just as good. So I'm adding like half of it at first. And see how much I will need. Okay, I think I'm adding all of it. Yeah, that looks good. So, and if you dare, you should try a little bit of it to see if you put in enough salt. Yeah, I think a tiny little bit more would be okay. Okay, let's give it another try. Yeah, I think that's good. So this will have to rest now a little bit, and I will put it into the fridge for about half an hour. It's now time to shape the fish cakes. I take some of this mass And I kind of want them all on the same size. You don't really have to do it like that, but I would really like to have them the size of this cookie cutter. So that is the exact same size that my rolls have. All right, so, and now I'm going to put this into the regular breadcrumbs. Like this. Okay. You will get about 8 to 10 of these fish cakes or fish frikadellen, and now it's time to fry them. So I'm using a rather generous amount of butter to melt it in the pan. And my temperature setting on my pan is 6 out of 9 settings. Once I've melted the butter, I'm adding the fish cakes. Now let's check if they are already brown on the bottom side. Yes, that looks good. So you have to be very careful not to break these, they easily fall apart. Okay. And I'm adding a little more butter. So look at this, very beautiful. I've already cut open one of my rolls. They are a little small today. I wish they would have turned out a little larger, but I prepared the dough last night, had it in the fridge, and it would have needed a little longer to rise. So, but you know, you have to compromise sometimes when you're filming. However, so I put a little bit of a salad leaf on the lower half, and now I'm taking one of my fish cakes and I'm adding some of my homemade Hamburg tartar sauce, and that's how it's done. Okay, so this is probably interesting. Usually when you get this at a fish stand in Hamburg, you will be asked if you want your fish cake warm or cold. I usually actually prefer it cold, although warm tastes very good too. So this will also be a good cold sandwich. It doesn't have to be warm and fresh from the pan, which also means you can freeze some of them and then thaw them and just eat them like in your lunchbox, which I think is a really good idea. Okay, so I will enjoy this now and will bath a little bit in good memories of my German heritage of Hamburg. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try this. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell button and give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Oh, still hot. Oh yes, this is really good, just like home.